How's it going, guys? It's ZCpengu, and I have a Valkyrie deck profile for you guys. So let's jump right into the profile. We got triple Valkyrie Brunhild, triple Valkyrie Dreet, triple Valkyrie Sweet, triple Valkyrie Erst, and one Valkyrie Vierte as the Valkyrie lineup. Now, I don't actually own any copies of Valkyrie Sheshti, but if you have any, you can add 1 or 2 copies of Valkyrie Sheshti. I would not recommend 3 because most of the time I feel like you would be breaking with it, but then again, you do want to open that card along with Ride of the Valkyries, so it's all up to you. But continuing with the profile, we got triple Condemned Witch, triple Summoner Monk, and double Honest is the monster lineup. For spells, we have 1 Mischief of the Time Goddess, triple Ride of the Valkyries, triple Twin Twisters, triple Forbidden Chalice, triple Forbidden Lance, 1 Swords of Concealing Light, or 2 Swords of Concealing Light, 1 Contract with Dawn Thousand, and triple Torrential Tribute. Now there's a couple tech cards in here, as you can see, and I'll be explaining more of those later in the video if you want to stick around, but for now we're going to jump right into the extra deck. So, we got 1 Exciton Knight, 1 Diamond Dire Wolf, 1 Tornado Dragon, 1 Heartland Draco, 1 101, 1 Castell, the Utopia package for Utopia the Lightning, 1 Gagaga Cowboy, 1 Baguska, 1 Akashic Magician, 1 Hipshell Shiningen, 1 Topologic Trisbiana, and 1 Borderless Dragon. So now that the profile is out of the way, let's see some of the things we can do with this deck. So for the main Valkyrie lineup, this is going to be the bulk of the deck, is basically what the deck is. The only thing that's missing from here is the Fortune Chariot, which we used to run. Back when the cards came out, but it's a card that doesn't exactly generate any kind of advantage or combo game with the rest of the Valkyrie cards, so I decided to take them out. Also, speaking of taking out cards, I also took out the Time Goddess card because it made the Valkyrie deck very inconsistent, is what happened. And as any Valkyrie player who knows, the best opening you can get for a turn 2 play is to open as many differently named Valkyrie monsters and Ride of the Valkyries already in your hand. So you can activate a bunch of effects and basically OTK your opponent right then and there. For the triple Condemned Witch, we saw this coming a couple weeks, months before Valkyries came out. We knew that this would basically be a staple in the deck because, let me read its effect right here. When this card is normal summoned, you can add a Forbidden Quick Play spell from your deck to your hand. As you noticed before, I played a maximum number of both Lance and Chalice, so that you can trigger this effect as often as you can. But the most important effect is its second quick effect. During your opponent's main phase, quick effect, you contribute this card, special summon a level 4 fairy monster from your deck, except Condemned Witch. You can only use each effect per turn. With Condemned Witch, you want to summon Valkyrie Dreet. You're going to need to accumulate Valkyrie cards into your hand, as many Valkyrie cards in your hand as possible, and Dreet's going to get you there. And if you do run out of Dreet targets to summon from the deck using Condemned Witch, we can always summon Honest. Of course, it's not the best summon off of Condemned Witch. The best summon is going to be Dreet. But it's a next thing. It's a next step in the ladder. Now in my deck, I'm playing triple Summoner Monk because what Summoner Monk can basically accomplish is it can turn any of one of the spells in your hands into a Valkyrie card. Is essentially the point of Summoner Monk. So what you do is when you have Summoner Monk and say any spell in hand, like Twin Twisters, you summon the Summoner Monk, discard to summon your Dreet. Your Dreet is going to be the most effective card in the deck, if not Sheshti. You activate Dreet's effect and you add any Valkyrie card from your deck to your hand. If you're going to search off of Dreet's effect, like any card you should go to, your first go-to Valkyrie card should be Ride of the Valkyries. Because, you know, even if you add any of your other Valkyrie monsters, say the Erst, the Sweet, or the Brunhild, they're not going to be easy to summon if you don't have the trigger to summon them. We can also go for Xyz plays using Summoner Monk. And so here's a funny interaction actually. This is one of the reasons why I run Diamond Direwolf in the extra deck, is because of Mischief of the Time Goddess. I'll read it real quickly. It says, neither player can activate cards or effects in response to this card's activation. Cannot be activated as chain link 2 or higher. At the end of the battle phase, if all monsters you control are Valkyrie monsters, send this card to the GY. Also, immediately after this effect resolves, skip to the start of the battle phase of your next turn. If you do, you cannot activate Mischief of the Time Goddess until the end of the turn. So the thing with Mischief of the Time Goddess, as the basic Valkyrie player knows, is that you can't have any other monsters on the field except Valkyrie monsters, which is the point of Diamond Direwolf. If you ever get into a Summoner Monk, you know, discard your spell, summon the Dreet, add a Valkyrie card, overlay the both of them into a Diamond Direwolf, pop one of your opponent's cards, and continue to activate, say, Ride of the Valkyries, and then you can trigger Mischief of the Time Goddess off of that as well, because you no longer have a Valkyrie card, or a non-Valkyrie monster on the field. In general, Summoner Monk opens up the rank 4 toolbox if you ever need to get rid of things your opponent controls, or control the board with something like Baguska. And for the most part, you're always gonna have a spell in your hand, which is why we run a minimum of traps, but mostly because due to Condemned Maiden. Of course, you're not always supposed to hold on to your spell cards. You know, always depending on the situation, you either want to hold on to your forbidden spells, or you want to set them. And then finally, for the monster lineup, we have the Double Honest. Pretty basic this one, just to run over any untargetable, undestroyable monsters that cannot be destroyed by card effects. It's your basic monster to get over bigger monsters. And you can always summon it off of Condemned Maiden if you ever run out of Dreet targets to summon from the deck. Onto the spells, we have 1 Mischief of the Time Goddess and triple Ride of the Valkyries as part of the Valkyrie archetype. Now, we can run 2 Mischief of the Time Goddess, but I found it particularly bricky to have more than 1, and you definitely don't want to have 3 because that's extra bricky and you'll have even less to do than normally. So I would only recommend 1, because the point is to OTK your opponent then and there with 1 copy of Mischief of the Time Goddess. You can only activate 1 Mischief of the Time Goddess no matter what in every turn anyway. So I feel like there's no need to run more than 1 Mischief of the Time Goddess. Of course, you can always discard an extra Mischief of the Time Goddess for Summoner Monk, but that's not always gonna come up. And triple Ride of the Valkyries is standard. You know, it's gonna be the best and only way to summon your higher level Valkyrie monsters. On top of not running more than 1 Mischief of the Time Goddess, it's a spell card that you can recycle regardless due to the effect of Valkyrie Erst. When Erst is special summoned, you can target 1 Mischief of the Time Goddess in your grave and add it back to hand. So even if you were to activate even if you were to activate your first Ride of the Valkyries and not be able to OTK your opponent in that turn, you know, use the Mischief of the Time Goddess, it's engraved, you can always bring it back with Valkyrie Erst anyway. Next we have triple Forbidden Chalice and triple Forbidden Lance. In my opinion, the better Forbidden quick play spells that you can add off of Condemned Maiden. Forbidden Chalice is going to be decent in probably the rest of the formats going forward, because a lot of monster effects are very strong nowadays. For Forbidden Lance, it's kind of left or right, because yeah, you can protect your monsters from being destroyed by spell or trap effects, you know, if that ever comes up, or even you know, block a Widow Anchor, because Forbidden Lance targets a monster and makes it unaffected by spell and trap cards. You can actually negate a Widow Anchor, but that's not gonna, you know, that's gonna be situational. That's not gonna come up all the time. But the 800 minus boost is also very important, because it slightly helps you OTK a little more proficiently. You know, opponent's main course of removing monsters is through card destruction or card removal, and not as often as in battle as it used to be. OTKs right now, they want to essentially get rid of the opponent's monsters before they enter the battle phase, is what I'm saying. But you have to remember, you know, battle traps, battle spells in this case, is a thing of the past, and keep in mind, guys, if you bring this deck to locals, I'm pretty sure you're going to get wrecked. Just keep in mind that this deck is for fun, and this is a deck I got to run as consistently as possible, but it is not the best deck in any format, shape, or form. Now we have some of my tech choices. We got triple Twin Twisters, double Swords of Concealing Light, and one Contract with 1000. So the triple Twin Twisters is obviously to get rid of back row, because you want to OTK as easily as possible. And if something interrupts you while you're doing your shenanigans, it's gonna be game over very, very soon. Swords of Concealing Light, there aren't really many as far as I look through my collection, there aren't that many generic and good continuous spells that generate advantage for a Valkyrie deck. So I just figured, you know, it would have been nice to run like several continuous spells. That way you can actually recycle those continuous spells with Valkyrie Suite. Because Valkyrie Suite states that after damage calculation, if this card battled, you can target one continuous spell in your GY and add it to your hand. You can only use each effect of Suite once per turn. It would have been nice to run more continuous spells for the deck, but there really aren't that many that generate advantage for Valkyries, and Valkyries are going to need advantage in order to OTK. The only one I can actually think of that'll generate advantage is this one card right here. Contract with 1000. It states that when this card is activated, both players draw one card, and both players lose 1000 life points. Now you can see it just barely helps with OTKing because it just deals a little more damage against the opponent. It lets you draw a card, but those cards have to be revealed. Contract with 1000 is basically the only continuous spell that I found that can help generate advantage for Valkyries, but it's not really advantage because you're just drawing a card. It's basically Upstart Goblin, but you're dealing damage instead of taking it. Or you're dealing damage instead of giving more life to your opponent, which would be kind of bad for this deck. Which is the reason why I don't have Upstart Goblin here already. If it does get destroyed, you can always recycle it with Sweet and draw again, but I think the game will be... I think the game will be too fast for that. But you know, your opponent has to keep in mind the second effect of Contract with 1000. Let me read right here. It says, all cards that are drawn while this card's effect is applied must remain revealed. When a player's spell card in their hand is revealed by this effect, that player cannot normal summon or set monsters. You can only activate one Contract with 1000 per turn. Now we are running a couple spells, and this could backfire. If you do draw a spell off of that, you could potentially you could potentially draw into a spell, you know, disabling you from normal summoning something like Summoner Monk or Condemned Witch or even Dreet. Which is why I only run one copy, because I get the feeling it's gonna mitigate our plays more than make them. But the point of Contract with 1000 is 1, it's a continuous spell which can be recycled with Sweet. 2, it lets you draw a card, and 3, it deals damage to your opponent, which gets you just a little closer to your OTK. The last cards in the main deck is going to be triple Torrential Tribute. Now this is a really funny card, right? Because, you know, our goal in this deck is to go second and to OTK our opponent, but it's not always going to be possible, and there's always going to be monsters in the way that your opponent summons. And the worst part is, there's a lot of monsters that your opponent summons that can't be destroyed by card effects, so use this card as you may think, or, you know, use this card to your own discretion. It's not the best card in the deck, but it does have some fun interactions with the deck. You know, best case scenario, you set the card during your second turn, and then the opponent wants to bait out the trap or whatever by trying to destroy with summoning something or destroying it with like Phoenix summon to destroy. Flip the Torrential Tribute and then you destroy all their monsters. That's the best case scenario, but obviously that's not going to happen. That's barely going to happen. Your opponent's going to find other ways to destroy set spell with traps like Torrential Tribute. But other ways you can trigger Torrential Tribute is actually through Condemned Witch. Because as we explored before, Condemned Witch can summon one level 4 fairy during the opponent's turn. Anytime. In the main phase, in the battle phase, main phase 2, you can essentially trigger Torrential Tribute anytime you want, as long as you have a Condemned Witch on the field. So what you do is you set a Torrential Tribute, and then you normal summon the Witch, activate Witch effect to search a Forbidden Spell. You search, say, a Chalice. Might as well set that as well. Pass turn. They summon a bunch of things, and then you can essentially mess them up anytime during their turn if the Torrential Tribute doesn't get popped or it doesn't get baited. So what you can do is, during the battle phase or the main phase or any phase, during any time your opponent is playing, you can activate Condemned Witch's effect, tribute it to special summon a level 4 monster from your deck, summon the Zwite, or summon the Dreet, activate Dreet effect to search a Valkyrie card, and in response to her summon, you can activate Torrential Tribute to destroy all monsters on the field. That's a way you can trigger Torrential Tribute without it actually being dead. Like, I'd say the worst case scenario of Torrential Tribute is your opponent summons nothing else at all, and they just OTK you with the monsters they already have. Which is why this is a fun interaction, not the best interaction you'll see, not game-breaking. Well, it can be game-breaking interaction. Depending on what kind of deck you're going against, something like Thunder Dragon will obviously not be affected by Torrential Tribute. Something like Sky Striker will definitely not be affected by Torrential Tribute, but if you're playing with your buddies and they got some strange deck that doesn't have that much card protection, this combo will be pretty devastating. And I guess another scenario you can come across with Torrential Tribute is, say, if you have a big monster like Brunhild on the field, and you already have the Forbidden Lance in play. You can destroy your opponent's monsters without your monster being destroyed, but of course, that situation will not always come up. These are just like fun tactics to get rid of your opponent's monsters. Okay. Alright, lastly, we're going to explore the extra deck. Evil Swarm Exciton Knight makes it extremely easy to get rid of your opponent's field, especially with cards like Summoner Monk, but you're not always going to draw into Summoner Monk. But you do have a couple level 4 monsters like Honest and Condemned Witch. They can essentially build a rank 4. Most of the monsters' levels don't really match except for level 4. It's going to be the main reason why we're running a rank 4 toolbox. Diamond Direwolf, as explained before, it can pop itself so that there are no more non-Valkyrie monsters on the field. That way you can activate Riders of Valkyries, summon all your monsters, and use Mischief of the Time Goddess, which will get you game. We got Tornado Dragon is basic spell and trap removal. Hardland Draco is for attacking directly. Next we have Silent Honor Arc is for basic monster removal. And Castell for basic card removal in general. The Utopia package is basically there to get rid of any monsters that can't be destroyed. That can't be destroyed by card effects. One Baguska. Now Baguska, sometimes if your opponent is making you go first, it's possible to just stall out their effects because there's, as we all know, there's a lot of spammy monster effects that are more relevant than ever. So you can, if your opponent does make you go first, you can always use Baguska to stall a little. One Gagaga Cowboy, 800 per game. Never hurt anybody. One Akashic Magician. Now, for Akashic Magician, nothing specific. I just didn't really have any other extra deck monsters lying around. If I could, maybe I would put Bull Sword, but I think that really defeats the purpose of running a Valkyrie deck in the first place, because you're OTKing with the Valkyrie monsters anyway, so I don't know why you would have Bull Sword. Hippo Shingen. Funny little guy, Hippo Shingen in this deck, right? Because let's say you activate Ride of the Valkyries and you're not able to resolve Mischief of the Time Goddess, so you know your monsters all get shuffled back into the deck during the end phase, and that's no good. But what you can do if you're lucky enough to have 2 more Valkyrie monsters on the field already, you can link them up for Hippo Shingen. Say this guy gets destroyed, you can add back a Valkyrie card from your grave to your hand, and then start over the Ride of the Valkyrie shenanigans all over again. Obviously, you would want to add back either Dreet or... yeah, either Dreet or some Valkyrie monster. If you already have Ride of the Valkyries in your hand, add them back, because you're going to need as many Valkyrie monsters with different names in your hand as possible. That way you can OTK your opponent. We have Topologic Trisbiana. I can't imagine it'll always come up. This one's kind of new to me, but what you can do is you can try to summon monsters during your opponent's turn using the effect of Condemned Witch, but that's quite situational. The only other time you would ever summon Trisbiana is to remove all the back row that's already in your opponent's field, but I'm pretty sure by the time you summon a Trisbiana, if your opponent has 5, 6 spells and traps, they already negated the summon or did something to your to interrupt your summoning of Trisbiana. To summon Trisbiana, you'd need a lot of monsters, but it's not the worst thing if your opponent does have 5 spells and traps on their field, because essentially you're not going to have that much back row except for Torrential Tribute and Forbidden Spells, and even Twin Twisters. We're just running Link monsters that don't make you discard as often as possible, because you need as many monsters with different names in your hand as possible. You don't want to discard, which is... I would have put Nightmare monsters in the extra deck, but it's just... the deck really needs cards in the hand so it can get ready for Ride of the Valkyries. And you can just OTK your opponent then and there. And lastly, we have Warlord Dragon. You know, basic monster removal. Not the best. I feel like the deck can already accomplish monster removal on its own. But if you ever do go against an opponent's monster that can't be destroyed by any means, you can always take control of it with Warlord Dragon. So that is it for my Valkyrie profile. Thank you guys for watching. As you saw later in the video, it's already turning night, and I spent all night making the profile. So I hope you enjoyed the profile. And if you have any more ideas for profiles, let me know in the comments below. So thank you for watching. This is ZCpengu, signing out.